Welcome back to PACE, everybody. My name is Dangers. Joining me in the commentary booth is the one and only Limcube.
What's up?
We are here bringing you a little bit late, but we're having some technical difficulties, some Super Mario Odyssey action. Day number 2 for this event, and you know, things are already heating up. We only have 4 days of this event, but already day 2, and things are already getting pretty spicy with these very fortunate matchups that we're about to unfold, I guess.
That's a great point, because we will actually have the first versus the second seed right now, and then later on we'll have Nitro versus Curbs being the third versus the fourth. So one of these guys will get their first win.
Yes.
And one of these two guys that we're going to be racing right now will get their first loss. So we will actually see some big changes in those brackets right now. Take a look at these guys. Let me remind you guys that we have the specific point system. 60 points is what you get when you win, and then there's another 30 points up for grabs depending on how much you win by. So every 10 seconds you beat your opponent more by, you get another single point. The maximum points you can get is 90, and that's only if you beat your opponent by 5 minutes.
That's right, and it leaves the loser at least 30 points up for grabs if they're able to kind of snatch a loss by only 10 seconds or less. And in this situation, we can almost guarantee that whoever wins this upcoming match between Chaospringle and Stravos96 is going to be moving on to the finals.
Look at these guys' average and best times. They are actually extremely close. Stravos barely behind an average time, 1 second behind best time here. So actually Chaos did beat his best time yesterday. He got a 1:03.23. I'm pretty sure, so he actually has a better best time right now. These cards obviously don't automatically update. Turnip Clip seems to be around the same. Swing Slip, Chaos might be a little bit on top. Snowdram, as I said earlier, Chaos is actually a little bit lagging behind. I think this was because of his first regular season matches where he had a little bit of issues there. Had like one run where he missed it twice, and that obviously inflates these stats pretty heavily. But other than that, these guys are looking extremely close. That's what the performance at this event has already shown. So we'll see how this one is going to go. I'm extremely excited. This can really go either way, in my opinion, and that might actually already kind of determine the guy that wins here has a very high chance of actually making it to the finals.
That's right. And you know what? It's kind of a fantastic thing that you're pointing out here. That Snowdram percentage kind of draws back. In the regular season, Chaos had a very tough time at the start, if you guys remember. It was his first win against Little Curbs that kind of like propelled him to start taking victories and ended up coming second place in the entire league overall. But he started out with 2 losses to kind of lead off the league, and then kind of like with that shaky start just kind of like burst out through the gate and was able to just clobber the league afterwards, and now he is where he is, posting race times that are better now than any time in his league performance. So Chaos on top, ready to go, and I think these guys are set up on the starting line and just about ready to start.
Yeah, just about ready to start. I actually got the chance to talk to Chaos and also read some messages, and he said that he genuinely really enjoyed being on stage. He almost thought it was giving him some kind of special energy, which, I mean, I guess it can go either way. I was almost thinking maybe for Curbs it might have maybe affected him a little bit negatively. He was making some, especially at the start, some uncommon mistakes, such as these bonks in Cap Kingdom, but Chaos actually played out of his mind. He literally said that he was getting like some energy from that stage atmosphere. But we'll see if that's going to be the case again as we start on day 2, PACE 2019, Chaospringle versus Stravos.
It's interesting to see, like we were talking a lot about yesterday, about how the energy surrounding being on stage for the first time in this kind of scenario is going to affect these runners. And obviously Nicrovita maybe being the one runner who has the most experience with this, and obviously did not win his race yesterday, but still kind of had that confidence going in. And it's amazing to see just how vastly different these runners approach that.
Yeah, and this is definitely the time where we'll see if these performances yesterday were like a one-off or if they're actually here to play on that level. Chaos obviously setting the bar very high as far as expectations go, getting one of the best racing times we've seen. There used to be this time where a 1:00.19 and 17 used to be the race world record. He came extremely close to that. Curbs obviously now with the race world record being 59 minutes and 59 seconds, a sub-hour in a race, which happened during the playoffs. Absolutely amazing. But right now these guys are very close actually in cap. Stravos used to be one of the best Cap Kingdom players before Danster, who's another community member, really like kind of played out of his mind to improve this kingdom as much as possible. Now we have some weird shenanigans going on with the new version that apparently makes the first load faster. So Cap Kingdom individual level times are all over the place. But Stravos used to be very good at this kingdom, and especially when it comes to the good topper. That's something that he always said down.
That is one good topper.
Right now, pretty nice sync going on here on those frog jumps. Stravos is actually going to be going for a different strategy here to jump up on the frog, and it almost seemed like he might have made up some time during that. He definitely took a little bit of a lead there.
He did. It is proven that if you kind of do the way that Stravos took to get around. Oh, and looking like some left side shenanigans from both of these runners, actually missing the left side and having to go for a backup here.
Oh no, Chaos. He's kind of messing around right now, actually getting a ledge grab as well, getting a long jump unintentionally, and I hope it doesn't mess with his nerves. You can see on the face cam that he's definitely disappointed by what just happened, but I'm not sure if he knows that Stravos also is having some issues right now, actually not getting a fast hit there on Topper on the second time, so they're almost back to even after a pretty shaky start.
Just a little bit of frustration shown on both of these runners' faces here after that kind of performance at the beginning, but not a whole lot of time lost. This is still the Cap Kingdom, and we have a lot of ground to cover here.
Now let's see these cascades though. Actually, we've seen this kind of scenario a lot during playoffs. One guy would maybe miss left side or have some issues on the bridge at the start of Cap and maybe lose around 3 or 4 seconds to the other runner, but they could easily get that lead back in Cascade. We are looking at less than 2 seconds right now, and missing chest clip loses way more. Chest clip being a moon clip that we do, where we kind of use Mario's tilted position as we touch a moon to make him clip through ceilings or walls, because the game kind of only knows how to play that moon cutscene while Mario is being straight, so it gets confused. But now these guys are doing the first moon skip here, probably going to try to do this without any wall jumps, what we like to call wall jump. The Stravos is actually going to be going for a wall jump here. Chaos doesn't go for it, and it's going to make up some time off of that.
Yep, it saves about half a second to do it without a wall jump variation here, and you can see the Chaos is making up a little bit of ground as a result. Stravos maintaining that lead, but as we've talked about a little bit in the previous match, Stravos used to be the one who was kind of leading the BTT stuff, really going for those kinds of really risky strategies and kind of putting together the one solid run in order to make those PBs happen, but he's had a change of heart as far as races are concerned, and really does kind of nail down his consistency first. And I think Chaos, it really is another very shining example of that as well. He puts so much effort into making sure that he can do everything that he needs to do on a consistent level before he adds it to any of his runs. And that consistency really shows itself with, you know, consistent race times of 1:00 times.
And BTT in this case actually meaning best theoretical time. This community tends to keep track of all of the best theoretical movement that you can do for these single sections, such as, imagine they keep track of capturing the dino to actually entering this arena, and the best clip that was ever recorded for that would be saved. And then it would basically make a compilation for the best theoretical movement.
That is right. And there has been some very intensive work done by the community, because obviously a game so new as this does not have an emulator available to it. So our next best thing that we can do is kind of compile very, very heavily segmented runs and put them together in order to maintain the best, absolute best time. And Limcube, you've actually done some work in the past putting these kinds of videos together, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly, that's kind of my job, you could say, in that community.
Every so often we'll compile a video of all the absolute best clips that we've seen. And it's actually quite funny, because the very first best theoretical video that we had was somewhere in the realm of like a 59.3x.
Yeah, like just under sub-hour.
And then watching that video back and watching those kinds of clips being put together, it's amazing to see how far we've come now.
For sure, and Chaos actually going to be missing chest clip right here. Doesn't seem too happy about this one. Stravos, on the other hand, is going to be getting it. I'm not sure if he was going for the slower version again to kind of like take his time, take his space. But this is going to end him up with a little bit more of a lead. He was holding his lead now throughout Cascade, even though it shrunk, especially during the first moon skip section. But we'll see what this fade is going to be. The timer right now is hinting at a 5:15, around that, looking like a 5-minute and 16-second fade out for Stravos as he leaves Cascade. And see what Chaos is going to get. Looking at a 19. So pretty much 3 seconds apart, these guys heading into sand, and a 3-second lead will pretty much be gone immediately with any mistake in sand almost.
Absolutely, yeah. This becomes one of the most technically precise kingdoms of the beginning of the game. Lots of kind of risky tricks that happen here that can lose a lot of time if you mess them up consecutively. So still a lot of ground to make up. We are only in the first 5 minutes of the run, and I think that the mistakes that have happened here, obviously not huge time losses, but can you kind of just maybe chalk them up to beginner's nerves and at the beginning of the race, you know? And that's, as a competitor, I can definitely say that the nerves hit you the hardest right as you hit that start button and you're ready to go, but it kind of dissipates, especially as we enter some of these later kingdoms here, such as sand.
Now, funnily enough, we talked about this fast action guide skip yesterday, something we don't really fully understand yet, but when the game is supposed to show you the action guide during your travels with the Odyssey right there, and if you mesh in a specific timing, you'll actually get a faster text skip. Stravos did get that, so Chaos lost about a second there for seemingly no reason. This is something that you might understand, so he should be around 4 seconds behind now maybe. as Stravos is already leaving the room here. Actually, it shouldn't be 4 seconds. Maybe Stravos had a little bit of issues there with his movement. You want to spin pound as fast as possible. Once again, spin pounds being these ground pounds out of a spin jump, cutting out on Mario's animation where it kind of goes into the ground pound state.
Yeah, anytime you guys see these guys seemingly like flawlessly do this ground pound, there's no Mario doing a somersault animation there. That's essentially they're trying to buffer 2 full complete circles of the control stick before they hit the ground, and that is just how they're able to initiate these immediate ground pounds.
Yeah, they're all over the place, and the funny and interesting thing is you can actually do them better or worse. So if you do all of these spin pounds really quick and really fast, if your inputs are smooth, you will actually be saving some time over the course of the run. Now Stravos is going to be going for the dram strat here. Once again, this capture warp, having Cappy close to that bullet bill, and both of them are going to be getting it from that ice pillar, which is the most optimal version of that strat. Very nicely done. Still very close now, grabbing that pillar moon.
Missing that capture warp can lose you somewhere in the ballpark of about 10 seconds, so it is very, very integral that they do get that capture warp, and both of them getting it just fine. But approaching another relatively tricky section of Sand Kingdom, that being this Sphinx clip coming up here.
Yeah, and Stravos is actually one of the guys that found a very specific version of the Sphinx clip where you don't even have to go for a ground pound, but this is not really real-time attack viable, is what we like to say. Kind of, you don't want to really do that in runs, not even in speedrun attempts if you're at home, and obviously in races you can't reset. But both of them getting nice swing slip on their first attempts. Stravos kept grabbing a bunch of coins here, which is pretty crucial. You want to get as many coins as possible, and actually also clipping immediately on the second attempt. That's really interesting and really big. You really want both of them actually with full swing slip consistency. Once again, we were mentioning in yesterday's race that as soon as they leave this swing room, they're actually on a global bird cycle. There's a bird traveling around in the kingdom, and we kind of do this route in a way that we will meet this guy as we head into the oasis, which is like the last section we go to. So you don't want to lose time in this section, otherwise you might miss the bird.
Yeah, this cycle is very important to kind of make as fast as you possibly can. All of these things that they're doing right now, they're doing at an optimal level, because losing time here will make the bird be in a different place than you want it to be, and the idea is to catch it as soon as you possibly can.
All right, let's see this. Both of them obviously easily getting that Jaxi skip, being able to jump up that structure without having to go through that huge ice cave, which is obviously extremely slow, something that we can gladly skip. Good job. Capturing the cactus there, you want to basically just move him one single step, being efficient there as well. Let's see this bird position here, which like to indicate how well they played throughout the section. Looks like bird is pretty far for Stravos, but so is it for Chaos. Both of them playing pretty well here after swings and still kind of keeping their distance.
Yeah, that bird for both of them in approximately Argentina as far as distance is concerned. So no problems with the bird there. We're going to see Stravos approach this Notes Moon, and you can see that he's initiating a spin pound right out of jumping off the top of that tree, able to get it in one spin throw. Nice. And Chaos following suit, both with a very clean sand this time around.
Yeah, as far as that is concerned, I haven't actually seen many mistakes at all from these guys, and I will be getting pretty solid extra times here. Stravos is probably going to be looking at a 10... I think this might be a 10-13.
Probably a 13 or a 14 coming from Stravos here.
This usually, we can already tell you these fade-out times because we kind of know how long these cutscenes take. Most of the time, if you hit the globe, you would spend around 20 seconds waiting for Mario to kind of like bank his moonsin and then that fade-out closing. It's actually 10-11 years, so not super accurate on our end. But this one is a little bit longer because obviously the ship there is leaving the pyramid, as this was supposed to be the story event, but which we just entirely ignored.
That's right. Nearly all of the, essentially the time it takes to hit Cappy with the globe to the fade-out is approximately 20 seconds, give or take a little bit, depending on how many moons need to go into the Odyssey. But with this one in sand, it's more like 24, just because of that extra little cutscene. So we are able to kind of predict just what their pace is going to be. And anybody new at home who is not familiar with speedrunning, perhaps, we do kind of mention their pace along the way because it gives you kind of an idea of how well they're going to do towards the end of the run as well, depending on how well they play.
Yeah, obviously with runners being that close, you can almost kind of see it just by judging, looking at the gameplay. But this is going to be the one place Stravos is actually missing that jump. He's going to get a pretty decent backup here. Very good reaction from him. We are going to be seeing some route differences here, though, because Stravos, being the one of the 4 players here that is not opting for the lake clip, which is a clip that I'll be explaining to you as Chaos is about to do it here, is going to be losing up to 5 seconds here if Chaos gets this immediately. He basically squeezes himself into this corner, gets Cappy to clip, and this wall doesn't really have the best collision, so now he can move slightly out of bounds to actually up-throw Cappy onto a checkpoint. This checkpoint is not supposed to be gotten yet. This checkpoint is on a painting platform, which allows Chaos to warp there right now as he gets a quick moon from the chest and then another quick one on top.
And yeah, you can see Chaos nods of approval there. He's definitely happy with the performance of that particular clip.
Yeah, getting this one first try is awesome. He's probably going to save up to 5 seconds on this one. These 5 seconds might not be visible immediately. We were talking about this yesterday. You get around 1.5 seconds of time saved by doing this clip in another kingdom, because you're actually going to be warping. You saw him warp after that first treasure chest. And the first time you warp in a playthrough, Cappy is going to talk to you, explaining you the warping mechanic. Stravos is not going to have to do that yet, but as soon as he warps for the first time, which is likely to be in Metro, he's going to get that text as well, and then he's going to be losing seemingly out of nowhere 1.5 seconds, and Chaos is already done with that. So while it might only seem that he just saved 3 seconds here, he's going to get a little bit of extra time save in Metro.
And yeah, so Chaos definitely going to be saving a little bit of time over Stravos there. Stravos struggling a little bit at the beginning of the kingdom. So you will see that these guys are relatively close. And it might look like Stravos had quite a bit of a lead going into that boss fight, but it really does make a difference when he has to watch all of these cutscenes. And these guys are going to globe at essentially the same time. Wow. Chaos actually taking a little bit of a lead out of this one.
Lake clip broken. And once again, he's going to be getting those other 1.5 seconds here. Just barely in the lead, though. It's definitely less than a second. Both of them will be able to leave now to go to Wooded Kingdom, which has been in this specific format. We haven't really seen many big flaws in Wooded. These guys have been doing pretty good, but Wooded, if it goes wrong, it goes really wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Can turn the race on its head if you are not careful. So you have to play fast, but you also have to play careful in Wooded Kingdom. Not to mention, Chaospringle's successful late clip will actually save him a little bit of time later on in the run, believe it or not, because every time you go into the map for the very first time, Cappy will give you a little bit of a explanation for how to activate the checkpoints, I suppose.
And let's see if they can grab those bunnies optimally. Very, very even rock break here, as they will be rolling across this section to get to the shop right here. Once again, there is actually 2 shop moons in this route that you have to buy. You need 200 coins overall to be able to purchase them, because they just happen to be barely fast enough. Stravos is already at 219. He seems to have gotten a ton of coins in that Sphinx room, but Chaos only at 85 after the purchase, so he should be absolutely fine to grab the one in snow as well. So I think we might not see many route differences anymore, but the one that is about to happen here, because there is a little bit of a mix-up that you can do in this Wooded route. There's this tree coming up. Chaos is going to be going for this. You can get this tree moon, and if you get this optimally, this will be faster than the story moon spawning by the Piranha Planet. Even though the Piranha Planet is a relatively easy to get moon, this is optimally fast. Now, Chaos didn't get the best boosts with this uproot, so he might not necessarily save much time with it, but he has some leadway now to make a mistake or 1 or 2. At the same time, Stravos is getting this very crucial nut dip. So many things happening at the same time. Also going to be doing decently fine on this out of bounds, which has had a little bit of a flaw right there. Let's see if Chaos gets this as well.
Looks like he's going to be clipping in just fine. Now, this is probably one of the scariest parts of the Wooded Kingdom, because any mistakes here, and you are falling into the deep woods, which is a kind of secret area of Wooded Kingdom that does require you to climb out, and obviously is going to lose you a lot of time from the optimal route.
Very nicely done, though, by Stravos and Chaos, both getting pretty solid out of bounds sections over there. But keep in mind that Chaos might actually still be in the lead right now. He has 1 extra moon. He just... okay, interesting camera right there happening as the camera kind of like clips from Mario's face outside the wall. Let's not get distracted by that. But once again, Chaos is not going to have to grab that Piranha story moon. We'll see as he gets to the section how much that will actually matter. I assume he would still be ahead, but maybe... we'll see, we'll see.
Still kind of hard to say at this point, but we are approaching that kind of point in the Wooded Kingdom where we are going to see the routes kind of come back together. So Stravos making a concentrated effort to step on that story Piranha that you saw, the big guy blocking that platform. And he's going to be coming back around and getting the moon associated with that. Whereas Chaos already has an extra moon, and he's going to just zip right by that Piranha plant and initiate what we call the Flower Road skip without continuing the story along.
And that goes to show how long you're actually trapped into this cutscene. Not only is Stravos going to have to skip a cutscene, but he also actually is going to have to watch Cappy kind of return to Mario right here. And this is only where he can do Flower Road skip. So Chaos is actually ahead by a decent chunk right now. We're probably looking at around 2 seconds at least, more like 3, as he already grabbed that moon. These moon cutscenes take around 3.5 seconds, and he's already out of it. So I'm assuming this might be up to 4 seconds of a lead that Chaos has already acquired now going into the Wooded Kingdom Tower. Actually looking like 5 at this point. Yep, pretty close to 5.
Yeah, Chaos showing very, very consistent movement in the Wooded Kingdom. No real mistakes to really speak of here, except for very, very minor ones. Strav just had a little bit of out-of-bounds trickery happen.
Keep in mind that was not only the time save from the tree rod, but Stravos had some issues in that out-of-bounds section.
But otherwise playing very clean, obviously not making any mistakes that could cost them huge amounts of time, which is very common for Wooded Kingdom. This is a very heavy reset place, so these guys keeping it under lock.
Now, back in the day, we were also fighting this little boss here. Chaos seems a little bit disappointed. They're not keeping his speed. Also, not actually getting the roll cancel jump he wanted. You can really see his disappointment on his face. That must have lost a lot of time. You'll see him right now, actually, really close to Stravos again. We are looking at less than 3 seconds at this point, or maybe around 3 seconds. Pretty much lost at least 2 seconds on this section. We are skipping Speed efficiently here by jumping down. And as you saw on Stravos' screen, you can get optimal speed right there if you buffer a jump. And then you just get those very quick 2 moons in the sub-run, which is faster than fighting the boss. Usually these bosses, while seemingly fast, have very long cutscenes attached to them at the very end, so if you can skip them with efficient moons, that's almost always better. Ooh, Chaos, I'm not sure if I like this actually being a little bit slow right here, but he is still going to be fine on time to make this cycle, barely jumping over this fuzzy. Stravos is going to be able to do the same, getting a ledge grab right there, but still getting the moon without taking damage. You can probably explain again what this damage taking is about, which gets pretty scary in that room.
That's right. And damage taking in any capacity obviously loses you time because you're going to get hit by an enemy and Mario's going to fall over. But anytime you collect a moon after taking damage, the game gives you a little bit of a health refill animation, and that is going to lose you even more time. So Chaos actually coming out of Wooded Kingdom with a little bit of a lead here, probably about 5 seconds, if I had to guess.
32 to 35, so it's actually more like 3 to 4, but relatively close. Really close now getting into cloud. At the end of the day, you're kind of right, as you were mentioning that free Metro time save coming in later for Chaos, since he did the lake route.
That's right.
But yeah, we are looking at around that difference, which is nothing in any percent. We've seen people, especially in Wooded, lose minutes of missing that nut clip, of missing like the out-of-bounds section, even falling into the deep-woods, which is a section you cannot escape with a warp. You actually have to kind of play through it to get out of there. So really risky Kingdom, but they are out of there. Now, one of the very few mistakes that Stravos actually ended up making yesterday in this race was in Cloud Kingdom. Not only do you want to get these fast head grabs, but you also want to manipulate Bowser slightly to jump less spaces. But Stravos actually missed one of these head grabs in this race yesterday.
Did have to chase Bowser down and kind of do the intended method of defeating Bowser, which of course is probably standing back and waiting for Bowser to throw his hats towards you. Meanwhile, these guys instead are going to try and get right up in Bowser's face and grab the hats as they are immediately available. Not only does that grab the hat as soon as possible, but you are also right there while Bowser is available to get punched. It looks like Stravos missed one of the manipulations there, actually, and Bowser did jump 2 platforms. If you miss one of those, it does actually lose you quite a significant amount of time in a kingdom that doesn't change very much.
It's around half a second, which doesn't seem much if you think about half a second, but in a kingdom that's kind of auto-scrolling, you don't want to lose anything if you can. Right. Like, you really want to get as close to your gold as possible in a speedrun, and that's just like slightly unfortunate. I'm actually not sure if Stravos does this phase of manipulation, because I've seen him miss this a few times in playoffs, so maybe he just intentionally doesn't want to try it, because you can actually take damage as you try to set that up.
That is true. Maybe just going for the consistent strategy there and taking the half a second knowing that he can make that up somewhere else.
I am already shaking, though, going into Lost Kingdom. This has been the biggest and most crucial kingdom in the playoff series to get to this event. These guys have been taking deaths here left and right because you can. This kingdom is completely centered about dodging all poison and then also dodging the Klepto trigger. Klepto, a bird that you guys might know from SM64, is lurking in this kingdom trying to steal your heads. That's kind of the story event of this kingdom. And by going to the left side here, we can pretty much maneuver around his trigger and then manually trigger him, which will skip that cutscene and that event entirely.
And a very fortunate thing for us as speedrunners that Nintendo has just kind of graciously never patched for us is the fact that this loading zone for Klepto is very much centered around the lower area of the kingdom. So by going up around the top, we just kind of avoid the Klepto trigger entirely. You're going to see Chaos run by the bird there, and it kind of initiates the fight as if he is active and he has stolen Cappy, but we're actually going to be able to keep Cappy, which is very fortunate, as we can just kind of roam around the kingdom freely now.
This is still fantastically close. Chaos in such a minor lead right now, and he's about to come up to one of the most crucial and hardest tricks of this kingdom, being the cage triple jump. This is one of the few sections where we are not going to have control over Cappy, and we are so spoiled by having Cappy as our friend because our movement gets so much more smooth. But without Cappy, you actually have to nail this triple jump just fine, dodge below the trapezium, which is the name of this enemy, get that moon, and then actually immediately spin pound to get the moon under the bridge. Chaos is going to be able to do that. Stravos is going to be able to do that as well. Now see them escape from there while dodging the death plane, and that was some pretty solid loss by Bottom. Really nice
execution by both of these runners here. Oh, a little bit of a slip up by Chaos, just grabbing the globe, but that's going to provide Stravos with just a little bit of an edge in order for him to catch up. You can see the runners exchanging a bit of glances there, just some trickery happening on Chaos's part, and this race is extremely close. The fade out is so close together.
Yeah, that might actually, like, we actually have to look at this. This is interesting. Chaos is usually supposed to be a very good player when it comes to matching, but he was in a minor lead. It could easily be possible that Stravos takes the lead from him during this mashing, but Chaos is supposed to be a pretty good masher. We'll see if that's actually true. Right now, he is still in the lead as this first cutscene was playing.
Yeah, you can see that the fade outs are just slightly in Chaos's favor, but that one was very, very close.
I can't even tell anymore, actually.
Yeah, the sync is real.
Chaos is still barely in the lead, I think. Actually, different strategies, really. Chaos going for the spin pound, Stravos going for double dive. Seems like Chaos is still barely head capturing that wire. This is extremely close now. Very nice sync going into Night Metro.
The sync is absolutely fantastic, and it's really going to come down to who kind of plays the more optimal lines as we go through this Night Metro Kingdom. There's a couple of different things that you can do. And Chaos.
No, Stravos going to be falling there on that awning jump. This is a pretty precise one. You do want to kind of delay your inputs there.
Yeah, not getting the wall jump that he wanted and having to redo the jump up to the top. So Chaos is going to be getting a little bit of a lead out of this initial portion of the Night Metro Kingdom.
Not the biggest lead at all. This is still, while being a very frustrating mistake, and believe it or not, in high-level PvE attempts, that might be enough to lose your run at this point, at least close to it, unless you have like a really good run going. So this game is incredibly optimized, but Stravos is already doing some very nice movement to catch up some time over Chaos here. And let's see, Night Metro as story event is the Mecha Wiggler fight, which is one of the very few sections that has some RNG with it. And depending on that RNG, Stravos might make up some time over Chaos. He's also known to actually play that section really well because it's an aim-heavy section, and him being a good old FPS player, he is actually really excelling in that section usually.
That's right. Stravos does come from a background of shooting games, and so it tends to kind of have that under his belt, under his repertoire, so that might be the chance that he needs, with a combination of some good RNG potentially, to make up some ground on Chaos here. A little bit of an unfortunate turn around the corner there.
Slightly touching that wall there, wall sliding down, but let's see this Mecha Wiggler. So once again, if you're tuning in for the first time, this guy has optimally two phases.
That was actually disgusting from Stravos, that
his aim is just absolutely ridiculous. Like his first phase, he does that, and like his aim is just crazy. Optimally it has two phases. You want to shoot him in the first phase, then he's doing his wall attacks, you kind of want to dodge them slightly, and then he comes out for a second time. If you have good enough aim, you will be able to take him down in the second phase, but the pattern he's going to be using to move across the wall is going to be random, so you kind of need to react accordingly and then really take those shots. And depending on how your pattern is actually is, you can have a faster or slower cycle. There, Chaos actually missing one shot, getting that one pretty smoothly. So he really made up. He really kind of saved his pattern there. Stravos actually not with the best shots right here. Oh my god! Hopefully being able to get those ones. Okay, that was crucial because the Wiggler was about to go back to the wall, which would have lost him up to 25 seconds.
Yeah, Stravos' unfortunate luck there. The Wiggler showing off its terrible, terrible hitboxes. Not only is there a little bit of RNG involved in this fight, but the hitboxes kind of overlap with themselves in a way that it doesn't always shoot in the way that you expect. And so having to kind of compensate for that and losing a little bit of time to Chaos in the Night Metro portion. But we're on the way to the Day Metro portion.
Here we go. Quite literally. Obviously, Pauline's song being kind of the theme song to this place, which we sadly cannot hear. The Jump Up Superstar, not in any percent.
No, unfortunately. Maybe one day in a world peace race of some sort featured on GSA, we will be able to showcase Pauline's lovely singing. But for now, we will just be making our way through Day Metro as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and the Metro Kingdom, the daytime soundtrack is already smooth enough, kind of this jazzy vibe going on in the city here as you touch the ground of the main city. Both of them with that first capture warp to gain access to the wire. Chaos is going to be going for Scoot Clip, and you already saw him kind of twist his body there. You want to turn around your controller to actually get the scooter to be able to clip. And both of them, it seems like getting that drive-by Scoot Clip, kind of the fastest version of clipping into this cage with the scooter. Once again, there's kind of like a hidden motion control that you use to steer a little bit further, and that allows you to clip in. Stravos is going to miss that spin pound, hopefully being able to still set up that capture warp towards that pole that Chaos already did successfully, and now making its way over to the bench friend Moon.
Yep. This game has a handful of hidden like motion control mechanics and even some like button press mechanics that the game never really explains to you, and we use them all to our advantage in this speedrun. Another one that I can think of off the top of my head is fish movement that we'll be seeing in Seaside later. Not a lot of people really know that if you press both of the A and the X buttons together, it actually initiates kind of a boost that makes you go faster through the water. The game never really explains that to you, but something that we've luckily been able to find.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Stravos actually walking past Pauline there. I'm not sure what movement he's going to be using. And that's actually interesting. That was really good.
Yes.
You saw Chaos use a spin pound from Pauline to the drummer. And that's actually made him be in a position that might have not been super comfortable to use that first person strat. You can actually go into first person to talk to NPCs, cutting out on some camera panning. But Stravos knew exactly where he needed to be to make that happen with just a single dive. And then he had the perfect spot to cut out as much time as possible with that first person NPC talk initiation.
Both of these guys having a pretty clean Day Metro for the most part. Some spaghetti in the movements. Looks like Stravos missed a spin pound there. Just maybe some dropped inputs on his control stick.
That warp from Chaos was smooth. He was basically warping as the screen was still black. And keep in mind, this is going to be the section where Stravos is going to have to deal with the Capitex, so he's going to be losing around 1.5 seconds out of seemingly nowhere. We get it right here.
That's right. And that's why Chaos is able to do such a quick warp right out of that cutscene with the bassist Moon, is just because of that late clip earlier, saving him about another second and a half.
And wow, Stravos is actually going to be really low. I just realized that trying to save that one with the rainbow spin. This is a very awkward mistake. He actually is going to have to end up warping back up to gain access to this trash can, which obviously yields the Moon, and that Chaos already got that one. You can lose your momentum right there, and he's still going to be going for that single jump, which is technically faster than using a long jump right there. This is once again a pretty basic mechanic of this game. Long jumps, while being pretty awesome in many other Mario games, tend to be, if being able to skip them, unoptimal, because when you go really fast in this game, doing a long jump initially will slow you down, setting you to a specific amount of speed. So if you can skip out on a long jump, you want to.
That's right. And even though it might seem kind of like a small jump, if you have a single jump coming out of your absolute max speed, it typically can get you the same distance as a long jump can. So it's very important that these runners are maintaining their top speed, and in a situation like that, you can make it with a single jump. Just a bit of an unfortunate circumstance from Stravos there.
Now Chaos really building his lead here throughout Metro. Obviously Stravos having some very unfortunate mistakes happening. One in Night Metro, missing that awning jump. The other one right there, as he was not able to actually get over to the trash can. Now Chaos is still going to be getting a sub-30 exit time for Metro, which is always considered really, really good, and actually able to get a time such as a 1 hour flat in a couple seconds. So that's awesome. Stravos is probably going to be getting something close to like a 30-20, so should be around 25 seconds behind, which is still far from over as far as this race is concerned.
Absolutely.
But once again, keep in mind that this difference will actually matter when it comes to points. So the more Chaos is winning by, the more extra points he's going to get from Stravos's, if he was to losing 30-point pool.
That is right. And it really will come down to the wire as we kind of start to trade wins and losses between the racers. It's really going to determine who, especially that second and third spot, who takes that one last spot to the finals on Sunday.
Yeah, looks like actually a 30-27 right there. Did not consider the warp for some reason. The warp obviously taking around 10 seconds. So looking more like 30 seconds and a little bit more of a lead for Chaos, which is still, I mean, it's 5 seconds more than what I expected. So it's still nothing major. If Chaos was to miss Snowdome here, and we've seen his Snowdome rate be a little bit low, I think he has been really mastering the trick recently. So I don't expect him to miss it. But if he was to miss that one, we would already be back to like a 10-second difference. And I was already having some issues that Chaos being extremely surprised how his movement went right there. Not really happy with this. Definitely losing some time.
I can confirm that trying to go from this Captain Toad moon, which Stravos is getting, and, you know, rest in peace, Captain Toad, we did kind of destroy your beautiful igloo. It's rude, but it needs to be done for the sake of the people. But the movement from here, getting into Shiveria, the camera does some pretty weird things for you. Especially right at this part here where Stravos is approaching. The camera turns dramatically on you if you're not prepared for it, and it can cause some issues.
Now Chaos is probably going to try to go for this moon clip again here through. This looks awesome. I would be surprised if this didn't work. Being able to go through the wall, ground pound, get a roll boost, and then enter this loading zone that way, which is way faster than actually going all the way around. Doesn't save massive amounts of time, but still around a second. And the way he did it, that he definitely saved at least a second with this one. Oh no, Stravos getting one of these super unfortunate wall kicks down. This is something we can't fully understand. Sometimes you get a wall kick in a downwards angle right there, which is why some people like to do different strats just because of this like mechanic that we don't fully understand.
Yeah, you'll notice that Chaos actually intended to leave that Spiny alive towards the end. It kind of has to do with how transitions and cutscenes work in this game. It's a big reason why we go into first-person mode for a lot of our NPC interactions, and that's basically because the camera will do this slow pan towards a particular spot before proceeding.
Oh god!
Oh my goodness, Stravos, very, very close to death there, but a very good save. But yes, with these cutscene transitions, the pan will happen very slowly, so the closer you are to where the camera needs to be, the less time it will obviously take. So that is why we do that. But Stravos staying alive in Snow Kingdom by the skin of his teeth, it seems.
Stravos seemingly extremely calm while playing this game. Even in a scary situation like this, it looks like he's keeping his cool, as he was almost jumping into the Poison Rider, which makes this room a horrible mess. Not being able to get that leave one Spiny alive strat, which is a little bit more optimal, as you mentioned, because of the camera pan. But that's not the biggest deal at all. It saves a minimum amount of time. Chaos obviously already in that Goomba room, barely making that jump. Happy about that one, as we see on his player cam. Once again, this is another room where we see a little bit of an instance of RNG. These two Goombas at the end there on that other platform will notice you randomly, because as you enter this room, they will start moving randomly. Stravos actually getting pretty solid Goomba RNG. He's able to walk under the shadow of the pillar quick, then collect those two Goombas to kind of make use of the downtime you have while this pillar is falling.
Yeah, very optimal looking room from Stravos so far. Going to be initiating a roll cancel into a triple jump here. Looks a lot scarier than it actually is when you give it a try, but making it across the gap just fine. But we're approaching probably the scariest portion of Snow Kingdom. Being
the snow painting jump or Snowdram. Snowdram being the name given by the creators of this setup, being Ikitrix and Shaden. Chaos going for a very quick setup there. This is not what Shaden and Ikitrix intended. He just instantly presses that camera button, is not going to struggle at all with this jump and nails it. Good job by Chaos. Really crucial for the Snow Kingdom time.
Even though making the jump still shows a little bit of frustration. It is the lack of a spin, a throw, roll cancel there, but that's just because Cappy didn't come back to him in time. Still maintaining a very solid lead, though. It's going to be Stravos' turn to attempt this snow clip now, or the snow dram, rather.
Let's see if he's going to be able to do the same. Chaos already making his way over to C-set. Stravos actually taking a little bit more time here with the setup. Really trying to make sure that he gets it lined up correctly, because you do not want to miss it. Actually getting a very late rainbow spin. Very nice. He is getting that spin for roll cancel to open the chest, so he's going to be happy at least about this part. Definitely lost a little bit of time on his setup because Chaos was going for such an amazingly quick one. But overall, the main thing that matters here is get that jump. You do not want to bonk. Nitro actually having a miss there yesterday, which loses you about 20 seconds.
Yeah, every time you fall down, you have to warp back up to the top, kind of do a walk of shame. Now, I remember in the very early days of this speed game, Seaside was kind of the kingdom that we liked to use as a bit of a break. It was a nice, relaxing place for us to catch our breath before we moved on to the scarier portions of the late game, including Luncheon. But with some very optimal movement and some new tricks discovered, I find that isn't really the case anymore.
Not necessarily. Especially, as you mentioned, the movement is actually quite crucial. We really optimized the hell out of this first 3 moons. Like, you really want to go as fast as possible, and now cutting all of the corners optimally. We see Chaos using a single jump right here. We used to do like spin pounds, backflips even, and the single jump being the fastest version. So you can easily, especially miss this 3rd moon, since it's kind of really trying to deceive you in terms of where it actually is, because this is kind of a mix between a 3D and 2D section. So these first three moons are already hard, and then at the very end we have, while not being necessarily hard, this out of bounds clip. It's been around for like maybe 2 or 3 months, and that happens to save around 5 seconds, replacing an old slow moon that was in the route. It's not too hard to get the clip, but there is an additional risk now, which is being clipping back into bounds after doing the clip, which it denies you access to this fast moon. In this case, you would actually having to talk to the Sphinx, which is the Sphinx is that moon. The Sphinx room is the moon that we will be getting, but we can, by being out of bounds, we can skip the Sphinx's quiz. If you clip back in, you'll have to answer their questions and probably lose at least 30 seconds.
Yeah, so while the clip itself is actually very, very slick and it looks very cool, and it's easy to execute on, it's really the risk of potentially losing a bunch of time, because there is no real moon backups available to you, considering it is the very last one you need.
Yeah. Maybe it was emphasizing on the fact a little bit. I can't guarantee if it's at least 30 seconds, but it should be around that. Because not only will you actually clip back into bounds, you will actually be trapped in this little hallway, which we swim by to gain access to this first moon. We can actually see Chaos manipulating the boundary here to clip out of bounds, swimming outside of the boundary to kind of deactivate it there. But this moon that we get right here is actually in a little hallway. So if you was to clip back in here, you will be trapped, and then you have to swim out, answer the questions. It's just a horrible mistake to make, which we haven't actually seen these guys make that in a high-stake scenario. It has been happening a little bit throughout our league, but I'm expecting these guys to take this carefully enough to not make that happen. But it is still a thing that can happen, and if it happens, they would lose massive time.
Chaos showing no signs of weakness here. In Seaside, he's probably very happy with the performance in this kingdom. Stravos going for the fish clip and getting it here. And yeah, it's going to come down to this, whether he clips back in bounds or not.
Very optimal moon grab right there. Once again, actually shaking the controller to make the cheap attack. You are supposed to use the shake mechanic to attack enemies, but that actually massively increases the hitbox this cheap has, being able to grab moons or even coins that are usually out of your reach. Now heading into Luncheon Kingdom. After Luncheon pretty much being the ending section of this mid-game portion, most runners consider Metro, Snow, Seaside, and Luncheon to be the mid-game of the run, which kind of obviously makes sense if you look at the timer. But this is where things literally get hot.
The heat's right up.
The heat is rising up as we get to this first jump already being kind of tricky.
This kingdom surrounded by this molten Pepto-Bismol, and while it's not an instant death, it will definitely cause you some troubles. And, you know, if you've ever played a Mario game before, the mechanics of being kind of on fire tend to be hard to deal with, very tricky to recover from. So we're going to be trying to avoid that as best as we can.
There's already with some pretty solid movement here on these first moons now. Roll cancelling over very nicely to start the Spearrun fight. And if you guys are any glitch hunters, route hunters at home, if you can find us a way to skip this boss efficiently, that would be awesome, because we actually got rid of most of these bosses in the game. This one, oh, shows actually at the same time as I was about to mention this specific thing, missing that Sol triple jump is going to take a little bit of a dip into the lava, hopefully getting the backup here right now very nicely done, but he is going to get a damage refill off of that moon. But essentially what I was going to say is, if we would find a way to officially skip this boss, the Spearrun boss, it would be awesome, because that's literally the slowest single moon other than one in Bowser, which is also tied to a story event that we get in the route. But this moon is technically skippable, we just don't know how to do it efficiently yet.
Yeah, basically the optimization in this game is looking to find cutting out as many of these cutscenes as we possibly can. It's the reason that Lake Clip is so valuable, and in the Lake Kingdom, is because we're taking away from the time that we can't change and we can't avoid, and we're turning it
Oh,
into time that we can.
Stravos got the frame perfect first person camera. He was happy about that. I saw that in his player cam. The last time I missed it, I got you, Stravos. This time I noticed it. If you get like a really tight first person press there as you beat Speedrun, Mario just awkwardly stands in that cutscene. That was pretty awesome to see.
Yep, very flashy stuff. Doesn't save any time, unfortunately, but it is kind of a cool showcase. I'm pretty sure it is a frame-perfect press, and on a controller button press as well, so it can be kind of tricky to pull off.
It's optimal bonk time here on the left screen.
Yep.
We mentioned that yesterday. It feels really satisfying to actually get an optimal bonk. There is technically a better strategy for this, but this bonk kind of makes us extend Mario's hitbox, allows us to grab that moon and stay close to the ground, allowing us to backflip earlier as we travel towards that pillar that Chaos already got. Now this section is pretty tight. Chaos actually getting an optimal angle this time, speeding towards the, like over that island to capture that Podoboo in the most optimal cycle. I'm assuming he's even going to try to dive across. Very nice. Pretty much the best way you could do that section, being very close to that Podoboo while capturing it.
Stravos not necessarily getting exactly the angle on that wall jump that he wanted, but Chaos can be the first to approach this Forks room. And I think most of these runners have this room under wraps. It is a lot of capture warps and diving, as you can see. Just barely making it onto that platform there, but Chaos has this under control. Getting the return Cappy jump as well. Yeah, he's got to be very happy with this luncheon so far. Yeah,
for sure. He just like got a sigh of relief right there. This Forks room can be pretty scary. We haven't seen many runners miss it recently, but if they do, this is a dramatic death where you could lose. There you could definitely lose over 30 seconds if you die.
Certainly.
Stravos also getting the good angle, by the way. He's also going to be able to capture the Podoboo as good as possible. Really nice from these two guys, getting the optimal roll cancel. Hot stuff, literally. As Chaos is about to do this turnip clip.
This setup looks fantastic.
Absolutely. This luncheon is amazing by Chaos right now. He's giving us a little bit of a nod of approval. He's happy about this one. Turnip clip being a trick where you basically have to throw the turnip into a precise position to be able to squeeze a pan bro between the turnip and the cage. Turnip is going to push the pan bro in. It only works on the left hand side of like the glass of the cage. It's pretty weird, but it's also a version exclusive trick. Chaos nailing this one. We've seen big frustrations happening there, but this luncheon so far, while being known as a very scary kingdom, amazing stuff.
And the clip itself is not very hard to do, but if you're trying this at home, you do need the 1.0 version of this game, which is the original kind of release version. So if you haven't downgraded, you will not be able to perform it yourselves. Stravos, the next to approach it, does kind of have an errant throw there, so he's going to kill that Spiny just to get it out of the way and then a retry.
Oh, Chaos at the same time actually going to be falling, kind of killing this amazing luncheon, which was happening to him earlier. He did go for a very neat backup that we actually know that you can use that lava to kind of run up that slope, otherwise he would have had the chance of technically dying, which he obviously wants to avoid. Still working out in his favor, being able to finish up the kingdom. Maybe not the best he's ever done it just because of that unfortunate mistake, but overall he can be happy with that. There's no reason to not be happy with this.
Maintaining his lead, he does have to be rather happy about that.
And there we go. Multi-Moon acquired this one in particular being super helpful to us because it actually also warps us back to the Odyssey. There's no boss to be fought, so it's just one of the best Multi-Moons in the game. Not much work that we need to do, so this one we don't actually have to route it. It's just nice to have it.
Yep, basically given to us for free just by twitching our meat a little bit.
Yep. Exactly, as Stravos is doing it right here. Good twitching from him as he's about to collect that Multi-Moon himself. Chaos there with a 44-23. I want to keep that number in mind just to give us a little bit of an update. Ruined is unlikely to really change anything as far as the difference between those guys is concerned. So I'm not really expecting anything to change in Ruined, but that's why I want to see how far these guys are apart going into this kingdom. Ruined once again being a pretty auto-scrolly kingdom. This is where Dangerous and I are going to have the good old Ruined trash talk.
Oh yes, the good old Ruined trash talk.
Yeah, Stravos looking to get a 45-10. So looking at around 47 seconds of difference already for Chaos. He's really been building his lead strong.
Yep, you know, Chaos has really been playing so consistent in this finals. It's amazing to see. just how well he's maintaining his composure. Just a couple of minor mistakes. But, you know, I think that goes to his playstyle. It really does show that he doesn't really add anything to his runs that he is not 100% confident about.
Alright, so let me quickly explain the mechanics of this kingdom. I will be done shortly. All you do is damage boost onto the dragon's head to start unplugging these swords as fast as possible and dodge the electrical hoops. And that's it. That's all we can do. We just want to do this optimally. Other than that, it's an auto-scroller. There's some movement that Stravos is going to have to do at the start here. Chaos already did that. You can save or lose some time here, depending on how it goes. But that's what this 3-minute kingdom breaks down to. In those 3 minutes, we get like 10 moons and lost in the same time, while we get 3 here. That's just how slow this outscores. But we gotta have to do that. Gives runners a little bit of a chance to take a breather. But Dangers, we actually have been preparing a little bit for this Ruined Trash Talk segment, and yesterday we were talking about this new Odyssey version 1.3 technically coming out, and actually obviously did drop. Dangers, what have you heard from the community? What changed in this version?
Very interesting stuff. So if you guys are following along at home with what the version changes really do, there was a time when 1.2 was kind of on the horizon and we were all very like, you know, nothing is going to change as far as speedrunning is concerned. Turns out that a lot did end up changing, and there was a lot of talk about what would happen to the leaderboards in a situation like that. 1.3 around the corner, we were all very scared that something like that might happen again, and it just turns out that nothing changed at all from 1.2 as far as we understand, except for, and, you know, get this, Nintendo's actually helping speedrunners maybe.
Incredible.
There might be some loading differences, and we might actually be going faster than we were before as a result of more efficient loading times.
Yeah, this is some early testing. Obviously, it seems like those loads are a little bit more optimal. Breath of the Wild, another game for Switch, actually getting a patch yesterday, and that was actually already confirmed that it loads like a lot faster. So Nintendo actually, after at 1.2 taking a little bit of our strats away, patching the game in a way that we are actually benefiting from it. Amazing. Shoutouts to you, Nintendo.
Yep. Thank you for helping the speedrunning community.
Sponsor us.
Believe it or not.
All right, good stuff here. Good ruin by Chaos once again. I mean, all you want to in a good ruin is hit the dragon fast, get good movement. That's pretty much it. You just don't want to mess up. I feel like Chaos looks a little bit disappointed. I'm not sure if he actually is. In PB attempts, you don't even want to lose the second here. It just feels wrong, because technically you just have to do the same thing every time, and it's really up to you if you mess up or not. So you can get consistent ruin times.
That's right. Kind of in the same vein as like the Cloud Kingdom. There's only like one tiny bit of movement that you need to do, and the rest is up to just doing the boss the way that you need to do it. So losing any time here is really just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But it is also a breathing opportunity. You get to kind of rest before the kind of final terrifying portion of the run, that being this Bowser's Kingdom.
Absolutely, and Chaos already making his way here through that first island, now jumping across the second one. Bowser's is kind of segmented in a way that there's multiple islands. Actually going to be losing some height here and is going to take a bonk. It looked like he said, come on. And I agree, sometimes Mario is like wall sliding down on the wall right there, seemingly for no reason. I think it's because of the cap stall kind of denying him to slide on the wall, and then the game just gets messed up. So losing some time here, still going to be keeping his lead, obviously, as he's done with the first section of Bowser's.
Very clean movement after the fact. Showing off a little bit of flashiness with that spin, throw, stall in the air, because why not?
Yahoo! As Stravos is making his way towards that island as well. That ogre being supposedly the first challenge of the season, which is actually kind of rude, because there's another moon in this game where you have to defeat 3 ogres, and you also get only 1 moon. So that's kind of unbalanced.
This game has a lot of unbalanced situations like
true.
that. When we talk about the Brutals, which are all of these little rabbit bosses, the first one strangely lets you access a completely new kingdom, which in my opinion is a pretty good reward.
I agree.
As you continue to fight some of these Brutals along the way, they give you multi-moons, and then they start just giving you single moons. And by the time we get to Bowser's Kingdom, it actually only gives us 1 moon for defeating 2 in a row. So it's very strange how this game kind of rewards you in certain ways.
Chaos now in this very movement-intensive section where you're collecting some moonshots. This is the first time we actually do that, because moonshots tend to be very slow. This is a forced story event. If we were not to actually collect these shots, you wouldn't get any progress in the game. And there was some very beautiful shots there by Chaos. Getting all of the strategies that he wanted, jumping across the gap with a single jump. That was pretty much as clean of a shots that you could wish for.
Stravos on the same island as Chaos at the moment. So going to be trying to follow suit with the same kind of movement, getting that very beautiful dive back strategy here. Going to be coming up onto the top of the roof, doing a little bit of a roll cancel into a jump to get that third and fourth ones. And yeah, Stravos has to be very happy with the performance of this shards as well.
Looking very good. Chaos at the same time going for that capture warp right here. We use those capture warps all over the place. They tend to be very neat if we can route them efficiently. Once again, kind of using Cappy as our companion again. Oh no, Chaos is fighting Topper first. We'll get into this in a second. Kind of using Cappy as our companion to let him stall close to a capture so we can kind of cut out some backtracking as we go into another direction, for example, by collecting a moon. Now, this is going to be a big rivalry in the community. People like to do Topper or Harriet first. Chaos being the representative of the Topper first gang.
Yes.
I think he's the only one of these runners, but chat tends to go wild when it comes to that discussion. It doesn't matter what boss you fight first, so it's up to you. So that's why people obviously naturally tend to have a little bit of a bit war almost.
Hashtag Topper first, hashtag Harriet first. Let us know what you guys think on Twitter at home.
Now, both of them being in the Harriet fight, so don't get confused. Obviously, Chaos already done with Topper, which is the shorter of the two fights. Keep that in mind as well. But still, obviously, in a pretty healthy leading position. This is around the distance, though, where a fall at mech, which I haven't really seen happen to Chaos in a while, could still kind of delete that lead, though. Let's not forget about Mecha Brutal, which is the final boss of Bowser's Kingdom.
That is right. So while we are only about 10 minutes away from the end of the run, just about anything can happen. We are approaching some very huge potential time losses as we make our way into the end portion of the game.
Here we go, Stravos now fighting the second good Topper, hopefully. Actually, pretty nice strategy to actually get rid of Topper's heads efficiently. Looking like a good Topper so far. Just needs to get a good hit onto him now. Is going to be able to close this one out very nicely.
We're winning both of those phases very, very quickly.
Now it's time to climb up to the Mecha Brutal fight. Chaos is going to be getting this Great Moon along the way. Dangers explained yesterday how there's actually not any of these like white bubbles that are supposed to show you how many moons you need to leave the kingdom, because the game, as far as the story is concerned, this game would lead you into thinking that this would be the last kingdom. This is Bowser's castle, obviously, so you gotta fight Bowser here, right? But as soon as we actually get to the top, Bowser is just getting the hell out of there, flying to the moon to marry Peach, and it's gonna leave us there with the Mecha Brutal, this ginormous creature that we have to take down. And then after we beat him, Cappy's gonna tell us, okay, to get to the moon ourselves, we need 8 moons. So these guys are already preparing for that, routing in a way that they will have 8 moons when they finish Mecha Brutal, which will warp you back to the ship.
The game was at least nice enough to give us these moons along the way rather than having to backtrack through the kingdom later on. So we do know about this, so we can take advantage of that.
The Mecha Brutal fight coming up. This climb, Chaos made that look easy. It's actually relatively hard. Still a little bit disappointed that he didn't get his spin pound in time. It's going to be setting up for the second bubble. This is the worst phase to fall in, but he's playing this optimally. A straight Japanese runner called Yuya kind of cultivated, where you spin pound on top of Topper. Very nice start of mech.
And this fight is kind of broken down into 2 major phases. The first 2 bubbles being the first phase with that climb. The second phase being the most time costly if you manage to make some sort of mistake. So he's going to set up to hit the top bubble first with Harriet in it, and then align himself in such a way that he's going to do some quick dives and get that final bubble.
Very clutch.
Showing no problems at all. Target acquired.
This is what we like to call the target acquired. Now he's kind of taking aim to jump on top of Speedrun, where they're doing that very nicely. While this setup is very consistent, if you always have consistent angles, you still need to be mechanically ready for this, because you need to spin your stick twice to even get a spin point. If you are too slow and you can't get 2 spins during the dive, you just can't get that strat. So while being a consistent setup, you still need to be mechanically ready to actually perform that trick. Stravos is going to be setting up for it right now.
That first dive looked a little bit slow, in my opinion, but he was able to manage to get that final hit. Target acquired.
Target acquired.
And we haven't seen any falls in this Final 4 group stage yet, but just so that you guys are aware of what would happen, he would probably fall to the ground and lose somewhere in the ballpark of 25 to 30 seconds.
Yeah,
so a very
easily.
costly mistake if these guys do end up missing, but so far showing no signs of weakness.
The problem being that you actually can't make it back up to the mech. And if you guys have played this game casually, you might have not even seen ever anybody actually climb on top of the mech. The intended strategy there is to use the birds. The mech is for some weird reason actually spitting out. And yeah, if you fall on that target acquired phase, there's no way of getting back up other than actually using the birds. You cannot climb up the leg anymore since the mech is like running around the arena. But here we go, Chaos actually leaving this kingdom with a pretty clean fade out here, 55-28. So he is still on relatively easy 1 hour flat pace, which is awesome. Moon Kingdom optimally, optimally taking around 5 minutes and 5 seconds. That would be an absolutely crazy Moon Kingdom that we have never seen. But on average, I'd say 5 minutes and 12 seconds, 13 seconds. That's
10,
around
15.
What a really good moon is looking like.
Typically what you will see these guys kind of perform at their top level is something in the ballpark of that. It really does come down to the pillar room at the very end where the big time losses and time gains can be kind of accumulated.
And let's look at these moon vectors. Once again, using the vectoring mechanic where Mario is kind of twisting in this 45-degree angle mid-air to get a little bit of extra speed. You've seen them do that earlier. Actually, in Cap Kingdom, kind of a throwback to Cap Kingdom where we started with the frog as well. This is actually even working in captures. And really nice rolls here. Doing that roll boost just in time to gain. This roll boosting actually gives you a little bit of extra height, and using that to make it up that ledge.
Using another vector there just to gain some more momentum as he flies through the air. Just so happens that the Moon Kingdom obviously gives you quite a bit of airtime, so that's one of the best places in the game to be utilizing these vectors, but they do work in just about any situation.
Oh god, okay, I appreciate Chaos for actually taking his time there, because this looked like the exact situation where you could easily get what we call the Valu dive. Shoutouts to Valu, great speedrunner. He actually had this weird occurrence happen to him on world record pace of this game before, where he got exactly one of these dives. You throw Cappy and Mario's angle is actually not going to align anymore with Cappy, and you can just plunge to your death or to your fall.
So playing it safe there, very good call by Chaos. Avoiding any heart attack situations. And he's into the second portion of this Moon Kingdom, being the Bowser refight.
Stravos at the same time doing that Moon Cave skip, huge skip in the game, saves around 5 minutes. Very easy to do actually once you know what points of the wall you need to touch. You skip the entirety of the Moon Cave, lurking in the shadows right there. We will never actually enter this huge time save. At the same time, you talked about this second Bowser fight. Not too many things have changed. Bowser is still giving us heads for him to hit himself, but now he's actually spewing out some fire, which tends to be relatively useless actually.
It does look rather scary, to be honest, and it looks like you need to jump really, really high, but really as long as you're off the ground, no harm will come of you and you will avoid the fire just fine. So not a very harmful phase, and in fact, I think that this fight at a speedrunning level is particularly easier than the Cloud Kingdom one, because it gives you quite a bit more time to get into the position that you need for each of the hat throwing phases.
And there we go, Chaos now on that last phase, the most punishing one to miss, but arguably one of the easier ones, because you get to get this nice damage boost along to really time that backflip nicely, getting that to work. Stravos at the same time on the second phase. One Bowser phase apart, which is actually more time than you would think, because Bowser actually takes a long time throwing out his flame attack. But this is definitely less than a minute, so if it was to end like this, both of them would actually get a decent amount of points, kind of solidifying themselves as potential high favorites to get to the finals.
And in the same vein, that really does solidify that this is not over yet. We don't see very many mistakes at a high level in this escape sequence, but any costly mistake does send you all the way back to the beginning, and that's really all it would take to change the lead over to Stravos.
And this escape especially right here, you really want to take the most optimal line as possible. Whenever you are in a capture where you don't really have access to many movement options, we start really caring about lines, because that's the best we can do. Really take optimal lines, as you were mentioning earlier, the fish being a good example for that. So you really don't want to waste any unnecessary time here with Bowser. Now going into this 2D section, which is where we do the 2D skip. Doesn't actually skip the 2D section, it's just a little bit of a shortcut. Chaos doing this right now, spacing out those jumps nicely and getting it done. This was the first crucial potential choke point. Pillar room technically being the last chance where you can really die, but Chaos has been getting an amazing pillar room yesterday, hopefully looking to do the same again.
Might be able to replicate that performance again today. Looks like he was very confident in his interview afterwards about those pillar rooms and just how his performance was handled.
And here we go, entering that pillar room at 59.50. This room takes optimally a little bit more than 50 seconds, so he's still on pace to get, easily on pace to get another 1:00 time, technically being the second one here at pace. Stravos at the same time doing the 2D skip to full success. At the same time, Chaos did struggle a little bit to get that early pillar, took a little bit of extra shots, so maybe not as clean as yesterday, but still getting it to fall, which that's what matters most. Pretty good third pillar here, about to close this one out.
Using that first fireball to break open that rock that's falling in your way. Definitely what you want to do to avoid getting any more obstacles in your way. And he's already broken the final pillar and is swiping away. Stravos, in the meantime, entering the pillar room for himself. But Chaos is going to take the win here.
Here we go, being happy about this one. Chaos with another 1:00 time here on day 2, pace 2019, 1:00:46. Good stuff by Chaospringle. Starting off strong with a 2:0 lead here over the other competitors. Stravos, though, on the other hand, about to finish here. He's also looking extremely strong. Like, he's going to give everybody else a run for his money with this kind of run. About to get a very low 1:01 time. One shot there sadly being blocked by a falling rock. Let's see the difference here as we are going to be able to see how much points these guys will be getting. Looking to be around 40 seconds of difference here as he's about to finish this one. Capturing the wire.
Looks like he's going to sneak in underneath that 10-second threshold there. 1:01:24
nice.
from Stravos. Very solid performance. And now both of these runners having an extremely good run this time around. It really did. They both had some minor mistakes, but it really did come down to Stravos making some of the more costly ones.
Yeah,
the one that comes to mind off the top of my head is that one fall in Metro Kingdom where he did take a tumble trying to get to the dumpster, and that honestly just solidified it for Chaos to take his second win. And as we mentioned, that might be all it takes for Chaos to kind of progress into the finals. It's going to be a really tough tooth and nail battle between the rest of them to really make it to the next round, I think.
So as far as I'm aware, Stravos going to be taking home 27 points still, which is pretty solid overall.
That is right.
Building further to his win yesterday. He did not win by as much as Chaos did, so he's still obviously going to be in second after now. I feel like there's actually no chance, unless Nick wins by like 5 minutes, that he could take the first spot.
That's
so Chaos
right.
probably going to be the first going into day 3. But pretty awesome stuff. Chaos looking like a favorite, but Stravos playing incredibly well as well. I cannot wait, by the way, obviously, for Nicro versus Curbs. Looking like Curbs might have been a little bit anxious yesterday, but if he got back on track, if he got the practice and if he's ready to play on the stage right now, he can. We've seen Curbs' A game. He got a sub-hour in the race. So
yeah, Curb maybe just having a little bit of a shaky start with the nerves kicking in at this very public, very live event. So maybe he's kind of rebuilt his composure, and he does have the only sub-hour race time, so you cannot discredit his ability to come back.
Exactly.
So just about anything is possible.
All right, and looks like we're already setting up there for Curbs versus Nicro.
We're setting up for Curbs versus Nicro, potentially getting Chaos in for an interview.
I'm not exactly sure. He's currently leaving.
Looks like he is leaving.
It's going to be a Fields Batman from Meetup. We are pretty behind on schedule, so I'm not sure if that is the reason for that. Didn't really get any information. But as he's leaving, I'm assuming we are going to be getting into another intermission real quick to just get these guys ready to go. And then we'll be back as soon as possible with this next race, Curbs versus Nicro. So don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned.